Good evening, anybody who shows up or watches later. Just having a little live stream chat and drink if anyone shows up. Got Truth Breeze in. How you doing? Chris, how you doing tonight? Yep, I was just thinking about that. You mentioned that before, Truth. Manual steam water distillers. I've been looking into that. I'm still gonna do more research and share it. What are you guys up to tonight? Oh, I'm doing good. Been a busy day today. I'm just relaxing now. Hey, Dill Rogers, how you doing? Just browsing YouTube, Bill. Anything good on tonight? Wow, 150 pounds of beans, rice, and oatmeal up in Mylar bags today. I've been going through my bug out kit, bug out bags and stuff that I keep in my car at all times. Not much on YouTube. Yeah, it gets pretty quiet late at night. Nice, RB. Sounds like a bunch of beans and rice. A lot of staples you put up today. You keep it in buckets or just bags on the shelf? Nice. Yep. Buckets, got to keep the pests out. Nice, Chris. King of the Hill and whiskey. What kind of whiskey? Propane and propane accessories. Got your first AK the other week, Bill. How do you like that? Raising 12 chicks, 4 ducks, 3 laying hens, big garden going in. That sounds like quite the life there, RB. Evan Williams, 100 proof there with Chris. Knob Creek, 100 proof. Cheers, buddy. Yeah, RB. I've had the off grid, not that well set up as you have it, but I miss that. Cheers, Chris. And everybody. Dill, how do you like your AK? I've only owned one, and it was in 5.56, but I've shot plenty of the 7.62. Folding stock with a magpul, handguard, and pistol grip. Sounds pretty nice. You ought to throw your phone up and do a little video blasting away with it a little bit. Sitting on the edge of my bed here, so bear with me. I used to build ARs, so that's always what I have worked with the most. But anytime a friend has had an AK, I've always played with it. Yep, I think everybody in America is probably more used to the AR-15 platform, but a lot of AKs float around. I like the larger caliber when I can, but you also need to use what you're used to, what works best for you. Anybody got a chat subject, something they've been wanting to talk about? Something they think they need to see in some videos? First rifle was an AR. Nice. Midwest flooding. Yep. I would need to think of something that people haven't said yet. I don't really like making a video that's just regurgitating a bunch of all the other prepper channels. Yep, I do agree. It is a disaster and it's going to make a bunch of food crisis. Yeah, truth. I try to stay away from religion or politics one way or the other. But yep, I do agree that we are in some very interesting times. Definitely expect more floods and disasters and rumors of wars, whatever that means to you. Sorry, RB. I actually don't drink that often, usually just socially. So, yep, Dill, they cast down the ban on regular sized magazines of 30 rounds, but all the politicians can't figure out where everybody got all these magazines so fast right after the ban got lifted. And of course, they're trying to take it back away again. Hey, 2x2, I've seen you lately commenting. Folks don't normally share where they're at, that specifically, but I don't think you need to worry about anybody in here. But yeah, RV, I do want to figure out something to say about the Midwest flooding. That is just a huge deal. I think it can't be really overstated just how much of an impact that's going to have on food prices in the future. Hey, Gray Man, how you doing? Yeah, Dell Rogers. I think a bunch of people went diving in lakes, and that's what Corsair Trainer said earlier today. A bunch of people went diving in lakes and fished up their old magazines. Yeah, Great Man, they would ban pocket knives if they thought they could get away with it. And I'm sure if we let them, one day they will get away with it. I'm doing good, Gray Man Outdoors. Just end of the day, a little busy day, but just having a little bit of bourbon, relaxing a little bit, having a chat. Hey there, Uncle Al. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, Dill Rogers, I like to joke around. You can make a pretty good fortune if you just went scuba diving in Californian lakes right after they pass a new law. Just got to keep your head up and watch out for falling ordnance. But you get it home and oil it up real quick, you'd have a nice little armory there. Oh yeah, Uncle Al, I guess you can't probably drink anymore. I don't drink too often. Yeah, Dill, I did a video on bump stocks whenever Trump signed that. Mostly I was surprised that he signed that. Bottle of whiskey. Bottle of whiskey a day might eventually bring the doctor over though, Chris. But I agree, it'll knock a few things out of you. But mostly I was surprised that Trump signed in on the bump stock. A serious person has other ways to make a semi-automatic a fully automatic. Otherwise, bump stocks, yeah, sort of what Gray Man said. Fully automatic's hard enough to control without having your gun flopping back and forth like that. But most situations, you want to remain behind cover and place your shots well. Sorry, making sure we don't die here. Yep, binary triggers are pretty fast. I'm in Idaho, northern part of Idaho. Mentioned that a couple times. I'm not worried too much about you guys. Not sure that the late night chats will stay up anyways. We're just chatting about stuff, not probably going to be too much information that I'm worried to share with your average person. Yes, Uncle Al, I've been planning. Come back to you, Uncle Al. RB, family has been in Idaho for a while. I grew up in Texas and Oregon. I've been here for a while. Uncle Al, reflector baker. I have some 12 by 12 mirror tiles, just straight mirrors, but they're tiles to be put on a backstop or something. But I'm thinking of making a mirror baker out of those. Potato country, that's mostly down south in that part of Idaho. I'm in mountain country, bears and huckleberries and stuff like that. What part of Oregon you in there, RB? You really close to Portland or down in the south? Oregon has been liberal long as I remember there, Dill. Better for candle lanterns. Oh, the mirror tiles are better for candle lanterns. What do you suggest for the baker then? Foil? Yep, GMO. I hang out with Hooples quite a bit. I like him. He definitely is a character, but he knows his stuff. Hey Spengies, how you doing? Way too close to Portland. Yeah, RV. I lived in Wilsonville for 10 years, long time. Yep, Hooples cracks me up. Oh, mirror tiles will crack in the heat. Aluminum flashing. Good point, Uncle Al. Yep, Spangies. Depending on where you were at, it could be pretty late. I'm on Pacific Standard Time, so it's only almost midnight. But that's a pretty normal day for me. Yeah, RB. Only Portland is liberal. Well, it only really takes the two major cities to turn the rest. Hey, Linda. 2 o'clock where you're at, Spangies. Welcome to everybody who's coming in. We're just having a late night chat and a nightcap if that's what you're doing. A couple of us are having a little bit of a sip while we chat. Yep, more than half the population is in the Portland metro area there in Oregon. Noahide laws. I have a more than passing understanding of Old Testament laws, but I would not claim to have any conversational knowledge of them. 255 over in New York, yep. Yep, Dill. Yeah, mostly most places it's going to be the cities are blue and the outskirts or rural areas are red. But that's the head of the snake there. Oh, okay. So a couple of us were chatting about what we've been doing to prep this evening or the past couple days. I've been going through my bug out car kit, bag, bolt kit, etc. Battle box. I'm Spangy's got battle box. Yeah, people like that. I like to see other people open them. I'd much rather put them together than buy them from other people. Yeah, Dill, I can't remember getting back heavy on the ammo, GMO. That's good. Yeah, Dill, I can't remember the last couple battle boxes, but I can't remember one that I was really impressed with. And there's a few channels that open a few different ones. I'd like to see one that actually consistently had unique stuff that made me scratch my head, but a lot of the time it's stuff that you can get cheaper yourself. Solar is my next step there, tinfoil. I'm pretty well confident in my ability to get by without it for as long as I need to. My bug out location is a pretty isolated rural area with probably the ability to get their hydroelectric back up. And I've got a generator for meantime. But solar is my next step to really start taking good care of. Yeah, swings, I could see doing the cheaper one and just, I mean, that's twice as much money to regret spending if it is just a bum deal. Yep, I understand having a mouth on you. I wouldn't say I haven't, well, I wouldn't say I try to have a mouth on me on here, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat my opinion. I'd rather do torture tests than reviews. Somebody wants to send me an item for free and know that I'm probably going to beat the crap out of it and give my honest opinion about it, I would love that. But what do you think is most likely to be the big SHTF event, RB says? That changes hour by hour, what I think. Golf courses, battery banks, and tinfoil. Yes, Uncle Al. Golf carts are the under actually find a golf cart repair place. They've got like 100 of them lined up outside. I keep looking at my chat, sorry guys. But yes, golf carts have a lot of energy storage in them. Spend $90 on their face cream. Yeah, I would have a hard time spending $90 on a face cream. I have a family member who just got a face cream. I forget what for, but if they didn't have insurance, it would have been like a $300 2-ounce bottle. Fleet batteries from 18 wheelers. You need to change that from having access to them to just having them, I think, Chris. Would be pretty nice. Sorry, RB. I'm keeping you there. You know, what's in the face cream? It better be gold or something like that. I don't know, Dill. People pay a lot of money for a clear complexion. So, RB, my thoughts on most likely causes for a big SHTF are economic, obviously, just like most people will say. Pretty good pile there, Chris. Yeah, you know what's sitting around whenever the balloon goes up is almost as good as available to you. Nanoparticles. I'm sorry, Uncle Al. Oh, in the face cream. Okay. I thought I missed something big there. Yeah, a big pile of big batteries would be a really nice thing to have around. So, RB, I am more of a subscriber to the slow decline into a unhappy new baseline kind of situation, you know, the new depression that never ends, Great Depression. But the SHTFs that actually pop off and are big events are coronal mass ejection, volcano, the obvious big ones that you just can't guess about. Cyber event. So whether that's attacking the grid or just enough, I mean, taking down YouTube and Facebook or hacking them private data enough to actually cause a lot of people grief at blackmail levels and just social levels, crashing economic systems, moving upward from there into actually crashing infrastructure, stuff like that. Um, Gas prices going up to where semi truckers just go home. That's probably one of the most down to earth ones that I can think of is Belgian Prepper. Hey, welcome in. Okay, I definitely missed something. The curse of hypergamous homeless women once you hit 30. Is that once you're 30 in age or once 30 of these women? I'm concerned. No viral. Okay, well, I'm getting there, RB Johnson, because a viral pandemic is definitely on the list of basic inevitabilities. I can speak well, don't worry. Yeah, good to see you again, Belgian Prepper. I saw you sort of join into our little circle of prepper friends here. It's good to see you hanging around. MGTOW. Men going their own way. Yeah, Gray Man. I think it was RB was saying that that was something he wanted to see talked about. Um, and everybody's been talking about that, but I don't think, like I said, that it can be overstated. Uh, Weather Wars Truth Freeze says, yeah, I have before been a firm believer in the chemtrail and weather manipulation theory. And I won't ever be the one to discount it, but I won't really be the one to propagate it anymore. I've sort of shared my thought in the past video. I definitely think that if there was the possibility of using technology to change the weather, somebody in the government has decided that they need to know. But I don't like to speculate that big on a channel. But like GMO and RB said, uh, numbers on the ground of cattle dead and crop stores gone. Can't really argue with that. We are going to see the effects of that. What do I think of the states closing down the small town hospitals and only having them in big cities? I have personally experienced the effects of that. I shared on the channel. My grandpa got hit. He was in a car accident, pretty serious one, and he would have been life flighted from where he lived, the small town, to the town where I live now, which is a 2-hour drive if you're going not too fast, um, because the hospitals are being downsized and shifted into the major urban areas. Whether that's Agenda 21 or not, you can speculate. How much is gas there? I don't think it's too far from 285. Might be lower than that. That's one of the things that I really don't spend too much time stressing about. It's going to be what it is. If it gets really bad, I start walking or riding my bike more often, is all. But I don't watch it on a cent by cent basis. Uncle Al says that what really does it will be something stupid like a dead squirrel in a nuclear reactor. So from there, it just around the system, and everybody just remembers that that's where it started. Wells will be contaminated from dead animals in the water. And SHTF there, RB. Hand pump on our well. So I would be very careful, and if I had a well, I would look into the ability to test it myself for petrochemicals and the things that you expect to get into a well. If you have a well, you should already be testing it. If I had the money, twice a year. Um, but yeah, definitely be checking your water. Don't just assume that because it's a well, it's going to be clean. Because if for whatever some car tips over, that wouldn't be enough. But if there's a large spill anywhere in your watershed, there are certain things that will go right through the water table and get sucked up by your well. So yeah, GMOs as wells are easy to test. And they are a lot of, I mean, they've got it figured out. So you're going to have something that you can dunk in there. It's just something you need to get on top of if you have the well. But a lot of people's inherit what a lot of people inherit wells, and they just start drinking out of them. They don't really worry about it. A lot of half-assed rednecks in rural areas. Not saying you guys are, but it is something to mention. If in doubt, boil the hell out of the water. Yeah, I think that that would probably do something to bring even petrochemicals out of solution. If in doubt, add a little bit of baking soda, because that's an absorptive thing. It's going to help grab anything that is in there, somewhat like a charcoal. Electric bikes, yeah, are good. Electric anything is beginning to come into its own lately. Hmm. I need to keep up on the chat. It looks, I mean, we got everything being covered in here, guys. Well, truth breeze, I could understand that. I don't think that we're at war like most people would consider it. But if war is a long and gradual thing, then you could make the argument that people are acting against other people's interests. Sure. I do try to stay away from conspiracy theorizing on this channel, aside from covering what people say about them. Well, yeah, I mean, we are at war now. I hesitate to name anybody my enemy, is mostly what I'm saying. Belgian Pepper says the inhumanity of mankind is what I think will kill us all. And I can agree with that. I definitely think that apathy towards the evil in the world and stuff like that will. It's gotten us this far. It only takes a few generations of people being apathetic to what's going on to let greedy or malicious people change things for the worse, take advantage and stuff like that. Democrats are worse than vampires, Uncle Al says. It's hard to get rid of. Well, you've got the rules laid out for you in mythology for getting rid of vampires. Democrats come back even, I mean, they're actually undead, good or bad. Yep, Spangies points out the irony of pushing to accept everything but marginalizing some things. Bill Rogers says humans are resilient, mankind is not going anywhere. I agree. I don't ever subscribe to any extinction theories aside from solar events or things like that. But I think if you actually tried to exterminate humans, you have a pretty hard time actually getting to them all. I think once we actually wised up to it, plenty of people would go into the limestone caves and Cheyenne Mountain and stuff. That's not mentioned the however many million people North Korea has underground, probably. Since it's just us, let's talk about one of my favorite conspiracy theories, the underground armies. So what you sipping in that shot glass? I'm making good. I drink in Natty Day 25 ounces, about 15 of them. I turned 50. Happy 50th today. 2x2's tinfoil. I'm sipping on Kentucky bourbon, Nom Creek. Things from the South Pole, Uncle Al says. If Democrats like curvy Joe Biden. Sorry, guys. I'll look at the computer. So yes, Kentucky bourbon there, tinfoil. Sorry if I'm quiet, but working on the video that F me on the audio. Sorry about that, Belgian. Editing can be stressful. With Democrats like Uncle Joe, they'll do themselves. Yeah, didn't they say? Isn't that just Bernie propaganda? Yep, RB, we are like cockroaches. Will be hard to get rid of if anybody ever tries. Unless it's aliens. I think that they might just be able to neutron the planet. Too early for you. Oh, Belgium. Yep, I bet. Cup of Joe. That's fine. Sometimes I make drink videos that I'll post in the morning and coffee videos that I'll post at night. So that's why live chat is nice because some of my around here buddies. Cheers there. Oh, yep. Cheers with Chris for 2x2s. Catching up. Truth is a lonely warrior. The irony. Underground arcs. Sort of Dill Rogers. Let's get back to that. Beers are 8% by volume, 2x2 says. My bourbon is 50%, but I take it slow. Favorite conspiracy theory? I am by no means well versed in this one, but it's just one that it's a what if. So let's say it's the Cold War. Bourbon is 50%, Chris. Nice. Arcs are Area 55, Uncle Al says. All right, let me spit this out before Uncle Al tells the real truth about it all. So, underground arcs. Underground armies might be the same thing. So, let's say that during the Cold War, some general decides that Russia might be putting people underground. Well, of course they are. You would want to have an army underground if the other side is going to nuke you. You would have Cheyenne Mountain or whatever other underground bases completely stocked with men and supplies at all times, so that if all of a sudden everything got glassed up top, you would still have at least some men and some continuity of government down there. So we're like, of course Russia's doing that. We need to do it. So we get a bunch of soldiers who don't have families, get them to sign a non-disclosure and move down underground into a massive underground facility and work on expanding it and work on being sustainable. So notes at George Bush's funeral. I'd like to hear about that. Good night, Spangies. Thanks for dropping in. Texas, right on. Used to live there. Don't mess with Texas. that is a anti-littering campaign, apparently. So basically, you get a bunch of people, a bunch of soldiers and stuff to go down underground in these nuke facilities and live out their lives, intermarry, and have children. You keep bringing in fresh blood, people who won't be missed topside, and you build these essentially divergent underground civilizations that are connected only by these vast underground tunnels throughout America. And eventually, I'll check it out, GMO. Eventually, after a couple generations now, since the start of the Cold War, you have potentially millions of people who have been raised for generations to be a part of a reserve underground army and ultimate US population in the case of the complete extinction of the super Turanian Americans. So it's one of those ones that's super crazy and maybe not true, but yep, secret tunnel since 1982, kids, Uncle Al says. So if people have been down there living their lives out and having kids and basically being segregated the whole time, at least in one of those facilities, then that's interesting to think about. Just my, interesting conspiracy theory. I don't necessarily think that that's the case, but it's one of those things that it's like, if a general decided that that would maybe be a good thing to do, how do you really shut that program down? Yeah, of course. If it's true, what do you even do with that? How do you unpack that box? And that's the kind of thing that when people talk about a civil war, that's where it gets really interesting, because either there are untold levels of resources that the enemy would have in the case of martial law, or you grasp control of the country and you gain control of all of these secrets, perhaps space travel and all this stuff. That's where the space cadet thing really gets interesting to people, because people want to know if that's actually out there. We want those secrets out. But whether or not you think that's the case is your own personal theory on it at this point. But I think that most people have a lot of preparation to do before they start worrying about stuff at that level. Because most of us, if it turns out that some of that big level stuff is going on, what are you going to do about it? Yep, this has been fun. Thank you for joining NRB. I appreciate the chatting. Theories like that give our government way too much credit, Bill Rogers says. I tend to agree with that. Thanks, RB. Hope to see you around. It was a really good chat, and I appreciate your input on it. Dill, I do agree with that theories like this. Oh, thank you, Ellen's Butterfly Community. I appreciate that. Thank you for dropping in and showing some love. Look at Walmart shoppers. Yeah, I do like people watch, and I do shop at Walmart, so I see them. And I weep for society, Uncle Al, internally. But yeah, I do tend to think that our government is not so on top of everything. I do think that conspiracy theories sort of fill that niche of wanting there to be a dad, a father figure at the top of everything. No offense if you like conspiracy theories, I have often liked them, and I don't think that I have father issues. But it is just sort of the niche that it fills of wanting there to be a thing for everything and everything in its place. So yes, it is just a little too convenient if the government is actually capable of all the things that all the conspiracy theorists think it does. But assume the worst, folks. EMP grid down manual ways. I do agree with that. Truth freeze. I do tend to be cautious with my predictions and overcautious with my preps. Pray for sun, prep for rain. Oh, thank you, Ellen. I'll be checking you out. I already have you on my list of people to check out from earlier, but I'll be keeping a close eye on you. Conspiracy term is too distant. Too new. But I like conspiracy theories that are just plausible enough to catch you. Like the ones that somebody during the Cold War decided needed to be looked into. That's why I like the weather theories, because you just know that someone said Russia is going to be looking into being able to cause floods or droughts. We need to do that. And so someone looked into it. Now, whether or not that went far before it got canceled, that's up for you to decide. But everybody's always complaining about how the military just has this endless budget to do whatever it wants. So some of those projects went pretty far. Which ones those are is up for anybody's debate or actual documentation, preferably at this point. But yeah, I do like survival prepping for normal people. Um, I haven't checked out his Patreon, so I don't always watch him because he is a little bit more of a prepper's talk show. Um, Uncle Al has seen reality change from one dimension to another, Mandela effect style. I've sometimes felt like I remember things being different than other people remember them being. Um, but yeah, anyways, governments, I do put it past them to try to do conspiracy theory type stuff, but I also don't put it past them to mess a bunch of stuff up. Truth freeze, yep, we got to that. So survival prepping for normal people, I do like. Um, he does a lot of tangents, and I like to focus on getting people prepared and thinking about preparing. Hey, PA Hillbilly, how you doing? So whenever I talk about conspiracy theories and rabbit holes, I try to give someone enough that they don't have to go down those rabbit holes themselves. And that's really not a big enough judgment because he really does do a lot of research to get information. But there have just been a couple times where I felt like he was distracting people from prepping a bit. But on the whole, he does really, really good. And I have no space to complain about anybody else's work. So Belgian Pepper says he doesn't think it's going to be a country that has everything to lose that starts a war. I agree. I don't think that America, at least if it's done with intention by the people in control, will do anything that will lose anybody in places of interest their stuff. I think that as long as the status quo leads to continuing to gain from peacetime, that's what we'll get. Whether or not that will work out for the average Joe remains to be seen. I watch both Bear Independent and Viking Preparedness. I think that they have good information. I really, really like Viking Preparedness. I'm a member of his Patreon, and he does share really good information. Bear does share really good information. I just really like Viking Preparedness is somewhat mellower, seasoned approach to things, if you will. But yes, I don't know if I finished my thought there, Belgian, but yeah, I don't think that America is going to go getting into situations that get it nuked or EMP'd if it can help it. And if you're implying that it'll be the underdog like North Korea that's going to try to poke us in the eye, Yeah, to a certain degree, that might be the case, but it would be pretty crazy because if it was a big enough poke in the eye, we're going to sledgehammer wherever it came from. Check out Truth Breeze. I mean, I might have seen the name around, but I haven't been catching up on the news as much lately. I've been sort of keeping my head down, whoever that is. 2x2. I do like survival present for normal people. Lots of mind games, kids. Uncle Al says, I agree with that. If you're plugged into any sources of information, no matter what they are, you need to try to stay centered because mind games from everybody, whether they are trying to be sincere or not. Many times, Belgian Prepper says he has experienced, or she, the Mandela effect. Faulty tires. So Belgian Prepper experienced a different experience than the person that they were with. Yeah, Chris, I can't really fault anybody. I don't really like to talk about channels, but I don't think that anybody who cares is ever going to see this. But I'll be fair. Um, Bear seems very legit, but people that I've heard talk like him before were cotton candy. So when I hear someone talk and act like he does, my natural instinct, which is almost an overwhelming instinct, is to think that they are talking up. But I also understand that there are going to be some very legitimate people who talk that way. And for all I can say, he sure is. So um, I'm not talking down when I say that. He does have lots of knowledge. So yeah, I agree with almost everything that he says. Um, and it seems that he can cash the check with his mouth talks. So as long as that's the case, that's just fine. Um, but that's part of the reason that I do like Viking preparedness. They're uh, sort of saying saying the same message, but from different places of experience. And I think that either of them would agree with that summary. So mind control, Uncle Al says, I think that there are definitely people trying to influence what everyone else thinks. Yes. I agree, Chris. Yeah. Nothing to knock the guy. He's light years ahead of where a lot of us are. So, and the things that he says to get people moving are great. So, he's just really gung ho, Dill. They're independent. Gray Man Outdoors. Pastor Joe Fox delivers the same exact info without the knife hands. LOL. And I think that that is pretty much something that you could hear Bear Independent himself saying. I don't think that that's unfair to say. And I think that he has respect for Pastor Joe Fox. So um, he is independent. Um, but like I said, if you can cash a check your mouth writes, then that's just fine. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way towards him because I'm sure that if we ever had a preppers contest, he'd beat my ass, plenty of times out of 10. So, um, like I said, most people, if I hear them talk like that, I expect them to be full of it. But for all that I can personally say, he's not. So, um, you know, it's just how it runs you, whatever works for you. I can guarantee you that I don't look as cool as Bear Independent. So, we've had a few come and go. What have you guys been doing to prep lately? Anything at all? Watching videos counts. Belgian Prepper made a video. Nice. I've got you on my list, but I have not been able to make it over there yet today. No audio though. That's fine. The best part about YouTube is there's already always somebody making a video worse than yours. That's been a lot of motivation for me. Yeah, Uncle Al made a lot of videos and then he had dinner. He's been pumping them out lately. I think I might be behind. I'm gonna have to go back and watch a bunch of his videos. Trying to catch up on some of his backlog too. Uncle Al went back and watched every one of my videos, and I was at like 110 whenever he started. So that was a pretty impressive task, watching my face for like 9 hours, or at least letting it play in the background. I don't know. Yeah, Chris, Uncle Al has some good videos. You would be a fool to not watch his videos all the way through. Can't be any worse than Jake Paul, and he's famous. I think somebody has probably taken you up on that challenge already. Junior Mo's too busy messing around in the woods to make serious videos. Those raccoon videos were good. I think I missed commenting on a couple, but um, those are serious videos. I don't know if you weren't including those. Many prepping channels that are just trying to sell you stuff, what are your thoughts? Does it take away from the real deal? If you are just trying to sell stuff, then yeah, then that's all you're about. You're a commercial channel. If you sell stuff, I don't think that that alone is a judgment on a channel. So I do think that channels that are just commercial channels, I don't think that they detract from anybody else. Um, I think it's really just your own decision how far you take it. Personally, I will have no problem selling something that I think you need or that I think is a quality product or anything like that. Uncle Al says 1,000 more videos and then plan H, kids. Is that preparation H or just you've gone through all those other plans? Uh, so, yeah, I don't think that it's a problem to sell something, especially if it's something that you use and that you can vouch for. I have before, for instance, let's have an example. JJ Reality Survival and Prepping. He reviews the energy solar generator a lot, and that's a $2,000 piece of equipment. And I have before been like, dude, most people have no use for that kind of information. And the ones who do can find that kind of information out there. But maybe they can't find the information that JJ can provide for them. And there are people out there who will buy a $2,000 solar generator. I'm pretty sure that's something that I would like to have if I had that kind of spending money. So it is not wrong of him to receive it from the company and maybe beat the crap out of it or use it every day or whatever it is that he does, and then tell us what he thinks about it. Now, is there a line where you go over to just sharing over that stuff? Yes, there is. And whenever you're doing video after video of, where each one is a product that you clearly got shipped to you, I think that you need to space them out and maybe stop receiving so many products. And I'm not speaking to anyone in particular here, but preppers do want to receive valuable information. That is what a lot of people are coming here for. And if you are not spending an equal amount of time trying to put yourself in the shoes of the people who are here looking for information, I think that you are doing a disservice to yourself as a channel. H comes after Plan G. All right, that's what I figured. When Plan B fails, you end up at Plan H. Uncle Al has a very specific plan for how he's going to do everything. It's all just a chess game, and he's got it many steps ahead, Chris. There's no point questioning it. We wouldn't understand. Grayman bites his tongue and moves on whenever he sees a gimmicky channel. and he's pretty much off the grid. I am envious of that. I did the whole jump in with 2 feet off the grid, go cabin in the woods kind of thing, and it was doing pretty well until my significant other and I didn't do pretty well. So I think that JJ has a lot of really good videos that have information that I haven't seen anywhere else, or at least, I mean, not that it's not anywhere else, but I haven't seen it. But he toes the line with where I would be comfortable receiving uh, stuff to review compared to sitting there and put myself in the shoes of other preppers besides myself, uh, and looking at who is really wanting information out of my channel. And I'm not saying that he doesn't do that and that he doesn't have a very good balance. I don't watch JJ closely enough to be able to make any kind of judgment. I do watch everything that I see come across me, and I do like him. Uh, but um, but I don't get the I don't get that he's necessarily just sold out or anything like that. I just I am minding you, Gray Man. I'm minding everything that comes across the chat there while I try to talk about something coherently. JJ's reality survival and prepping there, Chris McBee. And he does a lot of good videos, like 30 bullet point videos where a lot of them are good stuff. Uh, and I can't, you can't really detract from that. But he has like lately done just like a few gun videos in a row where it's like, and I don't want to talk bad because it's like part of me is jealous that he's getting, I don't know how much stuff that he gets for free and how much he purchases because he works. He's a bit, I don't know what he does exactly. I haven't caught on to that, but people spend their money. People get stuff for free. If I was running a gun shop, I'd get a lot of stuff for free, and I would be jealous of that myself. So I don't want that to play in to being like, oh man, this guy's getting stuff. Hey, High Desert. I wondered if I'd see you. I saw you up sort of late earlier. PA Hillbilly says Amish. You're in PA, so you might know better. How off the grid are the Amish? Because I've heard that some of the Amish are just like a hop, skip, and a jump from being regular people who just sort of talk the talk. Belgian Prepper, I don't think that you need audio in your videos. I've had videos that are pretty phoned in. I wouldn't say that's phoned in, but Plantain is everywhere, Truth Breeze. Catching up from the back here, guys. In your area, Chris, be careful. See the Mr. Stranger Things. I don't ever want to end up in a Stephen King book. Maybe The Gunslinger. So yeah, I mean, if the Amish that are actually, yeah, every community is different. If they're actually living the full off-grid lifestyle where they've got sustainability set up, and if they are the kind that don't mind having some guns around, I'm sure that they will do pretty fine if everybody doesn't flock to them. That's my Uncle Al carries in 44 and 30. Sorry guys, I'm reading my laptop down below the phone here. Phone times out pretty fast on the chat. Most Amish in PA and New York are off grid, very off grid. A few have gotten more modern, but most haven't. Okay. 44 and 30 caliber and 44 in pistol and 30 in rifles. That makes sense. I carry 357 in pistol and right now 12 gauge. Gray man, I don't like to voice my disagreement with channels online yet. Um, but I have some disagreements there. Belgian prepper carries handcuffs and fists of fury. 15 plus 1 rounds of 9mm with Bill Rogers. Over 6 rounds of 44. Ooh, the capacity shots have been fired. Chris McVie has a few of those. Also, Uncle Al in the woods for a pistol. I usually carry a SIG P226 and 357 SIG loaded with Underwood ammo. You can drag out his 338 Lapua if need be. Yes, in Belgium, I imagine that they've had enough of the heavy artillery. That was sort of an unfortunate pun there. Bill Rogers, I am often on the fence about capacity because I carry. It's sort of bad that I'm not sure where it is at all times. I'm sorry, guys. 9mm doesn't penetrate, Uncle Al says to do. The pool will reach out and touch them. Yes, that will do that. Can't own any sort of gun in Belgium unless collector or active employee of the law. That's about what I understood. That's what I carry. .357. It's a wad cutter right now. 2x2 says I have a Browning 50 cal belt fed rifle my dad bought me 2 years ago and 10,000 rounds for that toy. You must be in, yeah, you said North New York. That's rural. I wouldn't expect New York to be too happy about that. Uncle Al suggests the black market there, Belgium, and I do not necessarily advocate illegal gun purchases. I do advocate that you do what is within your rights to protect yourself. 9mm wins the game, says Bill Rogers, especially with the self-defense ammo loads available these days. Belgian Prepper says, holy moly to 2x2s, 50 cal belt fed. Is it a 50 caliber air rifle? Because it needs to be, you know, something like BMG to really be impressive. Now, I've shot belt feds and they are impressive, but you need to have a reason to whip one of those things out for it to be cost efficient. Chris has hit steel at 1107 yards. I'm assuming with the Lapua that was being talked about, yeah. And it will reach much further than that. That's a comfortable feeling. That's a pretty wide blood circle right there. Chris thinks that 357 is nice. I like it. It is not expensive and reliable. You know, when it was, that was a consideration when I got it. But it's reliable after the original manufacturer problems were taken care of. It has been very reliable, and I like a revolver and a shotgun because they are basic mechanical systems that you can abuse pretty well. And you know, semi-autos are getting to the point where you can abuse them, and I would love one that I could take into the woods and do some mean stuff to, and see if it's going to work for a while. But yeah, for one thing, I really like the 357 caliber. It has good characteristics when it comes to penetration, to weight and mass. No, it's not. No pellet gun. She is Army surplus from Missouri. That's nice. My experience is with the M1919. So, good. Hey, Happy Lux, how you doing? Good evening. It is just about 1 a.m. here in Pacific Standard Time, America. As a member of a community that has no gun rights in Belgium, Belgium Prepper supports our right to have guns. And you know what, Belgium? As corny as it sounds, I'm sure that we would happily come to help if things needed help from us over there again. Not that, I'm going to toss my hat into a Did America Save the Day in either World War debate. Only 200 penetration, empty, a 9mm plus piece clip into it, says Uncle Val. Belgium, buy a 3D printer, says Dill Rogers. I'm sure you can make some pretty good action figures with that. Oh, they're speaking Dutch or something over there, guys. Us uncultured Americans are left out. I liked 357 because it has similar foot-pounds of force to a larger caliber with a smaller face. And so it likes to dig in. And you can put it into rifles, carbines, lever actions, which I would like to have. Belgian Prepper thinks buying a collection of guns would be cheaper than a 3D printer. That probably your cost to output ratio for just getting the permit for a weapon and getting the weapon, because you're talking like 10,000 for a cheap 3D printer right now, and the gun you're going to get out of that is nothing. Now, what an illegal person would do, a very criminal enterprise, would involve getting a lathe and mill, which most anyone can purchase for car parts and stuff like that, and doing nothing illegal with it, actually. Hundreds of dollars for a 3D printer. Is that one that would actually print you out something? I don't know. I want something that's going to print something that I want explosions going off inside of my hand. $38 $357 is a big deal. Gray Man Outdoors. I had a girlfriend when I purchased that. She was actually getting it for a birthday gift, and that was one of the things that made it a decent option, is that you can load down. But yeah, Belgian Prepper, I would personally. Oh, I would say that 3D guns will develop much faster than over decades. I would expect really good 3D guns within 10 years. I would expect metal 3D printers to be pretty reliable within 10 years, at least at a somewhat industrial or academic level. 50 caliber 6-shooter S&W cowboy hand cannon in Missouri. Well, that doesn't surprise me in Missouri. Doesn't surprise me in any really rural area. I've seen people carry AR-15s down Main Street in some towns, so just slung over their back. Printing some gun stocks and parts I've seen, Gray Man says. That doesn't surprise me. Printing is not that complex. I mean, it is somewhat, but it's really just CNC machining. You just going back and forth. You got a laser printer, and it's just spewing out plastics of different kinds. What's really impressive is molten metal printing in a small machine. That would be very impressive, where you're actually printing a metal that will resist explosions, printing a barrel or something like that. That would be very impressive. But if you're talking about, because most of these 3D printed guns are like one or just a few uses before they start becoming basically useless. But whenever you're talking to stuff that you would normally injection mold, you print it out, you melt off the excess, you're set. it would be pretty fast for really intricate, um, stocks that have open internals, stuff like that. Yeah, Belgian prepper, the ink plastics, because I think for a lot of them you have one that is your solid plastic and one that is a dissolvable plastic filler. So it's printing the negative space at the same time that's printing the actual item itself because it needs the solid shape. And then whenever you put it in an acid bath of some kind and it dissolves the filler out and you're left with the actual object, the filler is reclaimed and used again later. If I just, my understanding of it is correct. So you're basically just printing off uh, shapes that have been programmed into a computer. So you download the diagram of the shape, the 3D printout of it, pretty much the same as a CNC machining shop uses to cut out of a metal stock item. But instead it's printing line by line up, and you just have your item that is put in for it. Yeah, Great Man says, okay, basically at this point, most of them are printing the furniture of the gun. Uh, most of a gun, the parts are not high wear parts. For instance, okay, my first rifle that I owned whenever I was, or that my parents owned for me, if you will, because I lived in Oregon and I couldn't personally have it, was a SU-16 from Keltec. So that is an AR-15 type platform, but it's not really an AR-15 platform at all. It's just a 5.56 knockoff of a AR-15, but the bolt pattern is all different, and the whole body is composite plastic. Basically, just the hammer, the barrel, the bolt face, and a few of the trigger parts are metal. The rest of it is all composite if they can get away from it, and it makes for a really light gun. It breaks down in the middle, the stock clamps onto the barrel, and it's really minimalist. um, Belgian, I'm going to come back to your comment real quick. So the SU-16 is a good example from Keltec because all of their stuff is injection molded, but it could just as easily be 3D printed. 3D printing is like a small compact version of injection molding. Injection molding, you've got all the hopper with the metal hot plastics and all this stuff, and you're shooting the hot plastics into the mold, letting it cool. You've got all your molds sitting there. It takes a lot of space. 3D printer, you have your hopper of plastics, you mix them, you print them, you get your same item, but it's slower and much more expensive, but you get to have it at home. So yes, there is a barrier of entry. To answer your question, Belgium, they're not necessarily so worried about people having them because A, yes, they more or less do know who gets one, and B, most of the people who get one aren't going to be doing that compared to a number of people who can find other ways to get guns and weapons to do those things. And it will always be easier to find other ways to hurt people. They always used bombs and other stuff before guns became readily available. So when it comes to how guns are currently made, GMO is right. A printer mostly makes the rest of the gun, and you either need a barrel that slides into it in some way, or they actually do have ones that will shoot through the plastic, but it will crack and be useless after the one shot. So yes, they've got one shot plastic guns, but the ones that actually make a gun that you might use for a few shots revolve around usually a barrel and a bolt face that is existing from another model already, and they just print a composite body around it. Yeah, Belgium, I'm pretty sure in some places they're probably being monitored a lot more than other places, but yet again, it's sort of like a mill and a lathe. If you're going to go through all of the time and effort to set up a machine shop and learn how to make guns, In most places, at least in America, they actually do allow that as long as you're not selling them without a license. And B, what are they really going to do to stop every person smart enough with enough resources to do that kind of stuff? So yeah, you might see them starting to crack down on 3D printed guns because they really are starting to try to narrow down on any of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, no one's making armories out of 3D printed guns yet, and they are going to go after your ability to just machine out actual metal guns long before they go after nerds for having 3D printers and making Star Wars replicas out of them. Does an AR-15 make my Browning belt bead look like a Civil War Gatling gun? No, I don't think that most people would say that. But I would say that most people will try to outflank you and they might well succeed. And you might just get stabbed in the back while you try to cover your whole position with it, unless you've got them pointing in every direction. Was it you that said that earlier? I can't remember where I was, but someone said, how much money would you stock up? How much bullets would you stock up for a belt feed? And I said, probably zero, unless zombies, then millions, because that's about what it is. I can't think of what an average homesteading prepper would need a belt-fed machine gun for, other than like herds of things. I would much rather an anti-material rifle or something like that, which the 50 BMG is not far from. One long shot and belt-fed gun is useless. Shoot gophers. How many gophers do you have, Uncle Al? Yes, it was made for suppression of large groups of troops. For freedom, of course, Dill Rogers says. Why else would you have a belt-fed machine gun? Yes. Suppression of gopher apocalypses. Who counter snipes with a belt fed? No, you counter snipe the belt fed Belgian sniper, Belgian prepper. That was the point, is that you're sitting here with your belt fed and Farm Boy with a 22 or a 17 HMR picks you off from like a mile away. That's not good to talk about online, probably. Anyways, yeah, so the AR-15 is more versatile by far than the belt fed. Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm trying to mess around here. So anyways, personally, I will plan to stock up on the AR-15s before I stock up on the belt feds. Yeah. But you know, if you got it, smoke it. Speaking about gun smoke, not anything illegal. Speaking of smoke them if you got them, I hear they start bottlenecking small channels like me when you hit hour and 20 minutes. Give me a second to grab some water. What are y'all up to out there? Just hanging out? Anybody who's drinking? Who's cleaning guns? Ooh, what's going on here? How does that work? GMO said. All right, so the bottlenecking. Please bear with us. We are experiencing technical difficulties. So it's my understanding that some people believe that there's a conspiracy against the prepping community channels. They don't like us talking to each other for a long time. my understanding is that if you're not a big channel, YouTube doesn't want to put a lot of bandwidth towards processing your stuff for hours on end when there's other people who want to talk. So if you're not very important to them, they're going to start buffering you a little bit so that you get off and let the big boys chat. That's my understanding. Maybe they don't like prepping channels, but I'm just, more prone to thinking that they'd rather kick you off, make you start again, and see who cares enough to come back. They're a little cutthroat like that. So that's how I tend to see it. Dill says he's never seen it happen. Dill's never seen that happen. I feel like I've noticed correlation. That's bull. I know guys that stream 10 hours straight. GMO says that. Now, I am willing to believe that. There could be a few different factors that play into it. A lot of preppers have crappy internet because they're homesteaders. And that's what I try to tell everybody in Prepper Nurse 1 stream. Yeah, Bobby McNutt, I don't know who that is, but GMO says does every day at least 6 hours. So yes, I have personally been skeptical of it because it would sort of seem to cut into YouTube a little bit. And he's a small channel, Gray Man Outdoors says. So yes, I have actually said out loud in a few streams, guys, it's much more likely that internet is just cutting out than that there's a conspiracy at play. I have been more willing to believe in the bandwidth idea, but at the same time, especially channels that have super chats going on, why would YouTube want to stop that? So that's my thought. But anyways, I'm willing to believe that that might be happening, but I've also been skeptical of it just being a hard rule, like a lot of people really jump on with. Oh, Uncle Al says it's alien. Yes, great man. That's why a lot of people cut it at a lot of people cut it at an hour and 20 minutes. A lot of people kill it at 2 hours. I think that it's also just sort of a commonly accepted best practice. Just like, oh, well, people are going to get bored. We're sort of pushing it. Folks got to go to dinner. Personally, as long as people are enjoying it, I say keep going. Why do people need so many guns? I understand now why. Facing off against a group of armed with mixed weapons, you start off with sniper, then suppress, then fall back with SMGs. Belgium has figured out the tactical spectrum. No. Yeah, Grayman, it is funny. I do plan a video on some of the things that we get ourselves to think because it is a little funny. We do end up, I've seen that. Thanks, Uncle Al. Appreciate you dropping in. Always appreciate it. Good talking to you. But yes, we do sort of work ourselves up with some of the things that we believe. A lot of it is because YouTube is very close to the vest on their information. Everybody who's over a certain size gets like a person that they get to email, but that person is always like vague. I think that the CIA could probably learn some things from YouTube customer relations. Will cuts it off at 2 hours or he gets all of it. Yeah. Some people really follow the I wouldn't say rumor mill, but what a lot of people think are the best practices. And some of that is really based on observation and anecdotal kind of stuff, where they're like, they see it happen a lot, and it could be more correlation than causation. But yeah, I mean, there's no one. I guess we'll find out. Let me know if you guys start noticing a lot of buffering, and I'll let you know if it's probably coming from my end. I usually get a reconnecting little symbol here whenever I've lost connection. So, Belgian prepper, let's talk about guns in America. If I'm talking to somebody who wants to know why I need an AR-15, and I'm willing to How does the government? Great man, I do not think that YouTube has an official statement on a maximum live stream length. Terribly sorry, guys. As we all know, when one part of a system goes, the rest is sure to collapse. Especially when that system is all, oh, you like the tool shirt? Thank you. Here, give me a second. That'll work for now. You got a good image there? Nope. Some album art. Sorry if you don't care about Tool. It's a good band. So much as I know, there is no written rule about video length. Bear with me here. Yep. YouTube has no official maximum length. Thanks, Belgian Prepper. I do particularly like this shirt. I decided that I needed to have a Tool shirt in my wardrobe, and so I ordered one. There are some things that I do just to get a kick out of them. So, Belgian Prepper, it's because it's plugged in. So the cord is pulling on it, but I think we'll be okay for now. Sorry about that. Pretty unprofessional. Yes, Belgian Prepper. I really do like this group. I'm pretty new as a channel. I've only been doing this for about 8 months, but I have been lurking and learning from the community, either this one or other parts of the survival community for quite a while. But yes, the one that I'm in, these guys that you've met recently in the live streams that we've interacted in, are a really good group of people, very knowledgeable preppers and survivalists, and people that I would personally, a lot of them, trust in a real life situation with quite a bit. So Belgian Prepper was talking about the spectrum of why people want guns. And I was talking about, if I'm talking to somebody who's like, why do you want an AR-15? What situation is there where you need what an AR-15 gives you over something else? And this is valuable information because I'm going to be talking about this in my 12 gauge versus battle rifle video in the future. Now, I have made AR-15s for a living, among other types of weapons, including automatic weapons. And yeah, there are some really good people in the YouTube community, particularly in the prepping homestead survival community. A lot of very grounded, down-to-earth people who have good morals and stuff like that. Thank you, Tinfoil. So, arguably, you could get anything done with something besides a battle rifle that a battle rifle could get done, right up until the point where you need that many bullets per second. And you need that many bullets that fast to be able to be reloaded that fast. Arguably, a cowboy could kill you faster than you could dump a magazine on it. If you're not able to use your AR-15 pretty much as accurately as you would need to be able to use a musket, somebody who's able to do that will get you faster than your high capacity, high rate of fire will be able to help you get that. And so that is sort of the nutshell of why an AR-15 isn't the end all be all. But if you are in a situation where you need something where you can put out that kinds of firepower, that fast, then you need something like that, and you deserve to have something like that. And so that is my sense. And all you need to do is point to homesteading times when one man needed to defend himself against a group of outlaws or other people. They would have benefited greatly from having something like an AR-15 to defend their family against an overwhelming force. That kind of thing happens. Anybody who worries about a group of good old boys coming down the street in a truck deserves to have an AR-15 or something like that. Greyman says 7.62 will always be his go-to, and the ARs are mainly for the range and playing. I actually do understand that. I heard for quite a while from people coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that the 5.56 does not have some of the characteristics that they wanted from a gun, and from Vietnam, pretty much from any engagement where guys had 7.62s available to pick up. They wanted them for the over-penetration capabilities. So while I'm far more comfortable with the AR-15 platform, I do want to get into the 7.62 platform or 308, although it's a little heavy for my frame and a little expensive for my wallet. So yes, the 7.62 has a lot of characteristics that I like. I like the AR-15. I think that it, you want to have it because it helps you be compatible with everybody else in America. 7.62 is close second on that one though. Always better to have and not need than to need and not have. Belgian pepper uses a 12-pound cannon 10 fuse. Well, if you've got grape shot in that, that's basically a punt gun, which is what villages and small townlets use to hunt geese and uh, passenger pigeons into extinction in the case of passenger pigeons. I hope you won't mind me taking care of some personal needs real quick. Hope you can chat among yourself for just a moment. Be right back. No, I was talking to my intelligence guys, and they said that none of you have enough toilet paper. You need to work on that. Laverna595. Hello, how do you do? Belgian Pepper says that's exactly what he means. He used to work in the field with a farmer, and that guy used a cannon with loads of birdshot to kill. Was it geese? Geese. That sounds like a job. Did you get any meat off of them, or did it pretty much blow them away? Salud. Ganbei. Cheers, everybody. Prost. Empty field, no crops, just a lot of feathers and bits. Makes sense. Bill Rogers is looking into buying an AR-10 for a long-range firearm, even though I find that kind of shooting less fun. Yeah, I can understand that. It's less spectacular whenever you don't get to see the things. And if you're not brave enough to be downrange and watching the things, which I'm not saying I would be brave enough, I would need a lot of concrete and plexiglass to feel really comfortable. But yeah, I can understand that. Now, if I had a round that was powerful enough to do really devastating things downrange, I would have fun setting up different materials. Like if I got my hands on an AR-10 that I could play around with for a while, I'd be putting like car doors downrange at like 800 yards and stuff, and like gelatin behind them, and seeing what it did behind different things downrange and how much terminal ballistics it had after going through those things, like, you know, a plywood wall, a drywall wall, stuff like that. That would be pretty fun to do with long range stuff. And that would actually be really relevant with your different projectiles, you know, your 50 compared to your 308 compared to a 17 HMR. I really like 12 gauge slugs. A regular factory 12 gauge slug out of a 18-inch smooth bore barrel, just out of your regular 12 gauge, can do some pretty scary things at 300 yards. And that's 1 ounce of lead. And those go through some things even that far out. So it would be really fun, is all I'm saying. Thank you, Laverna. Sometimes I think about cutting it, but then I'm like, no. But no, it would be very fun to be shooting pretty long range, get some videos where you have reliable shots going on long range and you're seeing what does what out there. Hello, Josters. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for dropping into the chat. Curious what brought you in here. You just get pulled in by your next recommendation on a click into the next, or did you see me in a recommendations and click on it, or what's up? Grayman Outdoors says that an AK-47 plus tannerite plus an old stove equals fun times. Grayman Outdoors, I hope that wasn't a good stove, because good stoves, while you might have a lot of them, those are a valuable item. If it wasn't really any good for using, then blow that crap apart. Jacques Morn, how do you do? Thank you for dropping in. I'm glad to see you. Seen you around quite a bit lately. So Dill Rogers, you got 2K to play around with, and you were going to buy a 50 BMG. That would be fun, but that would indeed be a waste. I don't want to be a kill buzz because I do like guns and stuff, and I have spent some money that I shouldn't have spent on guns. But if you don't have some very essential life-saving stuff taken care of, I would caution you against spending all of that money on gun stuff. I want a Berkey water filter. I don't have one yet. I have emergency filter capabilities, but I want to switch from having just drinking other stuff and just have my Berkey taken care of and be drinking out of it now. Foil's wife made him 100 proof vodka jello shots for breakfast. Of course, baby. Why are you drinking that much for breakfast, man? Just asking. Josters couldn't sleep. Well, thanks for dropping in. I'm glad that you're here. Wait a minute, you posted it, Gray Man. Was that recent or a while back? I'm going to have to watch that. How you doing, Jacques Bourne, Joester, and Laverna? And where are you? Few of us here are in the Western United States having our nightcap, but we also have some Europeans starting their day. I'll check it out, Jesters. Thanks. And I will check out your fireworks video there, Gray Man, as it seems to be, yes, Belgian. I imagine that tannerite plus an enclosed metal space equals fireworks. Gray Man, so Dill Rogers, some advice from Gray Man is use that money to buy ammo for the guns you own, some silver, and etc. It was a good while back, short videos. Second one was better, says Gray Man, about his tannerite videos. Bill Rogers says now that he has his AK, I'm considering putting half into food storage and more water containers, and the other half or so, I imagine, still going to guns, ammo, and gear though. Can't help it. Well, sir, I respect that decision. If you've got some of your essentials, having money come towards them, nobody can judge you taking care of A, some of yourself, and B, some of your tactical considerations, because that's just a line that you don't want to worry about having to cross. So you got your 8K taken care of. You want to go next level. Let's think about that while we chat for a minute. That's just fine, Joesters. I'll try to make sure that we're audio friendly here. You can keep up just by listening if I can help it. Belgian Pepper says, as long as you have an AK, you do you, bud. I agree with that. If you have a battle rifle, especially one with a larger caliber with some longer range capabilities, then you're pretty well set up to go from there. Especially, I'm assuming you probably, I think you mentioned you have a carry pistol. Timpo says, because my birthday, I don't have anything scheduled for the electronic shops till Friday noon New York time. Well, if you're drinking for a special occasion, I got no judgment. I just worry if you're starting with Jello shots every day. Sounds like a good birthday, man. Cheers. I did not mean to drink the rest of this when we started, but someone's birthday and we're having a good time here. So it's Timple's birthday here. Almost had to get into my prepping tools. Got my bug out bag sitting here in the room with me. It's the rest of that one for you, tinfoil. Cheers for your birthday. And anyone else who's joined since we've had a sip. Grayman would like to interject that if you're going to be purchasing stuff, you also need to remember to learn survival skills and practice them. This has been a valuable public service message from Grayman Outdoors. Tinfoil, if you had some legal moonshine for me to purchase and you were willing to ship it all the way across the United States to me, I would not say no. But I do not want to engage in illegal commerce or expensive and inefficient liquor shipping. I'm sorry. No, Grayman, your 2 cents are worth $1,000,000. Should be like $100,000. Yes, PA Hillbilly makes a good point. As far as resupply goes in the US, the AR-15 and the 5.56 are pretty common. 7.62 is not that bad. It will run out faster, but that's a pretty common round, especially if the UN invades like everybody expects. So Dill responds that yes, he has Clog 26 5th generation. Because I said, I just assumed that he's got his sidearm taken care of. Grayman says there's more balloons in a 5.6. And you know what? I could actually see that because everybody's got a 5.56 that they want new ammo for. But the guys who have 7.62 sort of have to chip away at all that old wolf ammo, right? I don't know. Supposition, but it makes sense to me, GMO. Jacques Bourne says, fully prepped, loaded up on TP and TP because after it hits the fan, after the defecation hits the oscillation, there's going to be a lot of crying and crapping of pants. I agree. I only stock brown pants. More 7.62 comes in every day. I can see that. They all want to sell the old stuff, and America will buy it. Think you're going to survive if you have to expend the thousands of 7.62 you have already stored? A lot of people don't have thousands of 7.62 already stored, but the baseline is about 3,000. So yeah, no, if I had my 3,000, I would be taking care of a lot of other stuff. And one of those things would be getting something like an AR-10. So yeah, Dill, I mean, I have still been thinking about that. I would probably do the AR-10. Yes, if you go through 3,000 rounds of a battle rifle, of anything, you will have been doing more shooting than I ever want to do in my life outside of the range. I have shot tens of thousands of rounds at the range. I don't ever want to shoot even one round in anger or self-defense, let alone 3,000 of them. So yes, odds of you surviving 3,000 rounds worth of gunfighting, if you're not in a military platoon and having 15 other guys with machine guns for them to shoot at, yeah, your chances are not good enough that I want to be rolling my dice that many times. It's good to prepare for it, but yes, I would rather be taking care of my ability to, speaking about the AR-10, disable a car from 500 yards than necessarily getting my next 5,000 rounds of AR-15. But Greyman Outdoors counts hours and not rounds. And what I'm assuming there is that he means, what if it's the rest of your life? What if your 3,000 rounds aren't necessarily 3,000 rounds worth of gunfights, but 3,000 pigs? Because the grid collapses, it never comes back. And those 10,000 rounds that you have stored are the last 10,000 rounds that you'll ever purchase or shoot. Will that last until you have something to give to your children and you die? So that's something to think about. And at that point, you might want to know how to make gunpowder. PA Hillbilly says, full battle rattle for military, only carry 210 rounds. That's true, but they've got a helicopter dropping rounds off. How often nowadays? Belgian peppers, prepper, it counts bodies. And do you know, 100 years ago, that would have been true. Don't want to get morbid or historical here, guys, but damn, was Belgium an ugly place in the not right now, in 1919, I guess. But, well, I mean, it still was pretty ugly, but like this time, 1918, was not a very pretty time in Belgium. So there are some things to be learned from places that would seem to be sort of European and peaceful nowadays. You walk across a field in Belgium and you are walking over like tens of thousands of dead people. Not every field, but some of them. World Wars will do that to you, Belgian prepper. Dill Rogers says, I was also thinking that body armor is a waste. No medical care plus internal bleeding equals death. I've been thinking about this lately. A couple of you have been seeing the video where I mentioned that this was in my bug out kit lately. And the charges into machine gun fire. Well, I went to Verdun 3 times. Belgian prepper. I'm not much of one for traveling, especially by air. But if I had the money and the time to go traveling overseas, I think that World War One battlefields and places like that would be one of the first places I wanted to go. Verdun has always fascinated me. So speaking of charging into machine gun fire and body armor, it's not necessarily just ironic. So Greyman would like to point out that 210 rounds for a full battle rattle is actually just a basic loadout and not a heavy war carry. And I agree. I would imagine that most guys who think that they're going to go into some kind of gunfight, whether or not somebody tells them to carry 210, they're probably going to carry a lot more than that. So, just my opinion as a civilian who's never been shot at. I don't want to worry about a situation where just my vitals are being protected, but I'm being shot at enough to want to worry about that. In a grid down situation where I don't have a hospital to plug me up pretty quickly, I'm worried just as much, well, almost just as much, let's not be silly here, about getting shot in the arm as getting shot in the chest. Let's be honest, in most SHTF grid down without public services situations, one is almost just as deadly as the other, just not as quickly. 6. All right, so taking a step away from the body armor, we're talking about battle rounds. How many rounds you want for a battle rifle whenever you're going to be fighting. So Belgian Prepper is asking if six guns in reserve and one in gun. What's the problem with having that many rounds? I see it, Bill Rogers. We're going to come back to that real quick. Belgian Prepper, when you are shooting, now let's look at this from 2 perspectives. From a military perspective, when you're in a group of men who are suppressing a threat and they're trying to come at it from, they're trying to suppress it while other guys maneuver around it and trying to destroy the threat, neutralize it without any loss to their people, you are compensating using suppressing fire. And yes, it's true. And when you're the attacking force, you want victory and not a prolonged combat. But what you are doing is trading suppressing fire for your enemy advancing or keeping you from advancing. So when you're in a group of guys who are trying to push into a building where guys are shooting at you, you lay down a bunch of fire, you move in. And then you stop, you play the game, you lay down a bunch of fire, you move in. It's pretty hard to move in on guys who are laying down fire on you when they're laying down, fire on you, without the ability to suppress them to a certain degree. So that's why the ability to just lay rounds on is sort of the answer to that. The key to keeping that from being your necessity is tactics. So as preppers, we like to imagine that we're going to keep ourselves from being in situations where we're pinned down and the only option is to lay overwhelming superior firepower on the enemy. So yes, basically you're using encirclement and shooting. Yes, you're being encircled or you're using encirclement and shoot and move tactics to compensate for suppression. So yes,
you need to be skilled enough, tactical enough, and able enough to make your shots count and to be able to move around that. Um, and you're sort of assuming that you're going to be able to do that. So yes, ideally the prepper is the cowboy who's able to go run around with his lever action and just one shot, one kill everybody without getting hit himself. And that's sort of where I am leaning because let's face it, we're not part of a squad. And that is where we tie back into the body armor. Um, when you're in a squad of people in the military performing a mission, you're making some basic assumptions that we as preppers need to examine before we go running into these situations. So, in a squad of people in the military, you have all of the support of a military. Unless something goes horribly wrong and you're cut off, like we were soldiers once, and even they were continuing to get these drop offs and medevacs most of the time, you're getting this regular resupply where you're getting ammo dropped to you. You can walk out with a certain amount knowing that you need to survive first contact before you get support, unless something goes horribly wrong. But they're sort of assuming that that doesn't happen and they're able to somewhat compensate pass mags back and forth between the 15 other guys in their platoon or more until the rest of the US Army arrives. All right, if you want to start studying how the Vietnamese did stuff, I mean, they still had their tunnels, but they had to survive until the foot train got there. Um, so you really are going to be more suited to looking at how guerrilla groups work. Obviously, this is often mentioned, than looking at how U.S. military squads work currently overseas. And so, with that in mind, you're looking at, and even some guerrilla squads, because their fanatics don't really count because they're not necessarily worried about the individual. As preppers, the individual is the key. It's either us keeping our families alive or members of our family that we're not willing to sacrifice. Yes, tinfoil. A good prepper group should have some good marksmen in it. And yes, Belgian. A prepper alone is not very effective. Um, yes, Belgian home country is definitely different than Nam or Iraq, but you still don't necessarily have the factories and the helicopters and all the things bringing stuff to you. Give me a second here. I got some battery concerns going on here. And yeah, you can have stashes, and that's where the having a whole bunch of ammo stocked up that comes in. But you need to have a whole bunch of ammo stocked up if you're talking about fighting some kind of insurgency or civil war or long-term collapse control situation. That's just a lot of ammo, and that's where the tens of thousands of rounds of storage comes in. A lot of the serious tactical preppers suggest 3,000 as a basic prepper starter for your ammunition storage. And from there, they probably have a whole lot more because they imagine that that's pretty much one or two engagements worth of use. So, yes, if you're talking about long term, you need to have large amounts of stashes kept, or else you really are looking at your one shot, one kill assassinations from the bushes and running kind of thing. Um, so for preppers, yeah, body armor is meant to cover the vitals and not necessarily all the body. So mobility, being able to run from a threat is going to be more important. If you find yourself in a situation where you have a mission to achieve, where you're the hammer, then you have to acknowledge that losses are somewhat acceptable. So if your goal is escape and evasion because it's your family and you're simply trying to evade aggressors, your goals are very different than if you're trying to push into a house. Um, so body armor is really a hard choice there, but the ability to remain behind cover and take your shots wisely, and maybe have, I mean, honestly, a riot shield, a ballistic anti, a bulletproof shield would be better, personally thinking, than body armor inside of a vest. Because yes, getting shot in an arm or something is pretty much almost as deadly as getting shot in a vital, in a grid down situation where you don't have someone to actually patch you up. Yeah, Grandman, be aggressive and quick. That's why I like heavier calibers. Um, 12 gauge, 7.62, 308, stuff like that. Um, a lot of people, this is speculation. A lot of people who are living off of action movies and stuff like that pretty much see cover as a barrier. And any of them who understand that you can penetrate barriers are probably still going to be using AR-15s or things that don't penetrate if you have good cover. And as a prepper, you should have good cover. I'll be talking about this later, about some ballistic options that you can have to line some of your street facing walls and things like that. But um, being somewhere that, be where your enemy cannot touch you, be where you can touch your enemy. So I'm going to tie this back into the be aggressive and quick. Just 1 second there, tinfoil. Yeah, Dill Rogers, people taking cover behind a car. So again, speculation. If ZNA Productions is that young guy in this garage that made the fiberglass plates, then yes, that's sort of what I'm going to get to eventually. Art of War, PA Hillbilly, I just loosely quoted that. So yes, anybody who has not read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, that is one of those ancient Chinese knowledge wisdom books that you need to be reading. That book is essential reading in business schools, military academies, and various other professional institutes the world across. That book has been around for thousands of years, and for thousands of years, the most serious people in the world have taken it as gospel. I highly suggest, if anybody in here, looks like most of us have, but if you haven't, find it. It's either free or just a couple bucks. Read it. The Tao Te Ching, or the Tao Te Ching, TaoTeching, Tao Te Ching. There's a few different pronunciations depending on how east or west you're saying it. That one is a little bit less tactical, but just as good. All of that ancient Eastern wisdom is good. So yes, the Art of War. I just spilled some of the last of my whiskey. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is, I think, essential for anybody who wants to think tactically or just be more efficient in the way that they do things. Same thing with the Tao Te Ching. So yes, be in a position of strength and be in a position that undermines your enemy's strength. Be aggressive and quick. Do not move until it is time to strike, and when it is time to strike, move quickly and aggressively. Thank you for joining in, Dill Rogers. Hope you sleep well. Really appreciate you joining and chatting. Good luck with your weighty decision with the firearm purchase there. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to body armor versus cover versus firepower, I definitely think that if your concern is longevity for yourself and the people around you, yeah, remain behind cover and take shots of opportunity. Don't behave like a soldier or like a hero, because those guys are willing to give their lives for a reason. Um, and definitely you are too, but you need to be a little more careful with it than maybe they are, because in this situation, probably somebody else relies on you. Well, who got what to chat about? How much car gear do you guys keep with you? And how far from home are you whenever you're at work or in town on an average day? I keep quite a bit in my car with me. Usually a backpack and a foot locker or two, like the ones that I'll be sharing in the video tomorrow. Usually you're 16 by 3 or 4 foot by 16 foot locker. Well, tinfoil. I emptied it, man, for the birthday celebration. Belgian Prepper. I own an SAS pocketbook. High five for you there, buddy. The SAS pocketbook, the version that I have, is a sort of wax paper, somewhat water resistant paper pocketbook that is full of valuable survival information, including survival plants and things like that. Things you can eat, poisonous animals, knots, all kinds of survival diagrams and information. That's actually a bug out bag item that you want to keep with you at all times. Exactly, Jacques Bourne, bug out bag item. SAS in the Bob. So yeah, my car kit is, oh hell, this one's empty. Bear with me. One or two of these in the back of the car with all the seats folded down, so it's just an empty cargo space. With this very large luggage bag inside of it. And inside the other one, I have a very large expedition style internal frame backpack. €3 for an SAS book. That's a pretty good price. I can't remember what I got mine for. It's been a while, but it's probably a fair bit more than that. So yeah, I've got basically 2 foot lockers worth of carrying capacity inside of them, and then a small backpack that is full of supplies ready to just grab and go if I don't have time for anything else. Does anybody else keep gear in their car, even just their everyday carry that they have on their person, little bag or a tin or anything that they keep in their car to help them get home? Or maybe their home burnt down and they have to bug out without anything that they expected to grab from their garage. Belgian Pepper thinks that an SAS pocketbook is worth 60 new. I would probably agree that they're worth $40. I said 60, $40 new. I would say that their value is that high. But you can get them for $6. You should get one for $6, guys. You youngins can keep up with some of us elders, lol. I think we might have a slight hangover when we wake up. That might be the case. I'm not used to drinking 3 or 4 shots at once, but it's some pretty clean whiskey. Now back to what you mentioned a minute ago, tinfoil. Do I think that you at 50 years old will see World War III? God, I hope not. I hope that there isn't a World War III. I hope that, if anything, we just have small regional conflicts until we figure our shit out. But I'm skeptical on it. SAS Mini on Amazon for $9.52. PA Hillbilly has to call it a night. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching, PA Hillbilly, and joining in the chat. Hope you have a good night and rest well. I don't think that we'll be too far behind you. I do have to get to bed and work in the morning eventually. I wonder why it would seem to be so much more for you, Belgian. Is that the same book, the one by goodness, what's his name? John Lofty Wiseman? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was mostly just taxes and EU kind of nonsense. Would be a bummer though. Wow. Yeah, I mean, price difference or currency differences and stuff like that will account for quite a bit, and then taxes. That's crazy. Hopefully, the rate of pay compensates for that cost of living. Well, guys, if I know it's morning-ish time for some of you guys, but if we don't have any more pertinent questions or chat topics, I think I might start wrapping it up here soon. Anything you've been wanting to chat about lately or hear some information on? While we got a couple of somewhat knowledgeable folks in here, I would like to say. I don't know that Brexit has affected me as an American yet, aside from hearing about it. If it's changed prices or anything like that for me, I don't know about it. But I've been hearing people talk about it because it's a hot political issue. So I haven't researched enough to say how I feel about the actual what Brexit would mean for us or how I feel about it. Maybe I should. I know it's a big deal, but there's a lot of things between me and that side of the ocean right now. So I keep tabs on stuff, but I don't worry myself too much. But I imagine for you, it's probably a little more relevant. How's Brexit been affecting you, Belgian prepper? Seems to be worse for England than they thought. Yeah, I haven't been following it very well, but it doesn't surprise me. The EU is supposed to be sort of a really big commitment, so backing out of that is likely to have some effects. Jacques says they're delaying it, Americans don't understand what is going on. Yeah, I can admit that I'm sort of part of that. I mean, I have an understanding of what I hear from other channels and stuff, but um, yeah, no, I'm not very clued in as to the full details of it as much as someone who's on the ground there would be, and knowing how it's going to affect the world stage as it plays out. Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I think that maybe the UK thought that they were still our big dogs, and maybe they're not. Like I said, I'm really not as up to date on the current state of politics over there to really speculate on it. But probably is something I should look into because it's going to affect Americans a lot more than I think most of us appreciate. All right, guys. Well, I think I might just wrap it up for tonight. Been a really good chat. I appreciate everybody who stopped in. Belgian Pepper never went to UK. Yeah, I haven't done too much traveling myself. The US is bigger than much of Europe, and I really haven't seen much of it. So, just my Pacific Northwest and Texas. Belgian brainwashing. Well, might be a good kind. If it's working for you, it's working for you. Good night, Jacques. Thanks for being in. Thanks for all of your additions to the chat. Really appreciate you being here. Belgian tinfoil. I think it's you three and me. Thank you guys for being here and hanging out. Appreciate you for being in. Joester, everybody who is here, gonna go check out channels of anybody who I haven't yet. But I appreciate you all being in. Thanks for being here and hanging out and chatting. It was a good time for me. Hope it was a good time for you. Hope you guys are prepping. Hope you're doing well and living life to the fullest as it is, because there's no point prepping if you're not enjoying your life to live it. So, good night, Jacques. Good night, Tinfoil. Good night, Belgian. And good night, anybody who comes along and watches this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chatting, guys. Tinfoil. I'll check you out, and if I see something that is worth sharing, I'm gonna share it. Promise that. Um, so, yep. Thank you for watching, and expect me to be chiming in on some of your stuff. And from what you shared, I expect I expect there to be something that I'll find interesting. So, thank you for joining in. I do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. You have a good night, good morning, whatever it means to you, and you stay safe out there.